Welcome back, you're watching Overdrive now. That was the fantastic Wraith. Well, right now I'm at the home of Rolls-Royce where every car is made, and I've got Mr. Richard Carter, who's the head of communications for Rolls-Royce. Welcome to the show, Richard.
Jamshed, it's a great pleasure to welcome you here to the home of Rolls-Royce Motor Cars, as you rightly said. It's right here that we build every Rolls-Royce in the world.
Well, India has had a long-standing history with the Rolls-Royce brand,
Yes.
but it's been different brands over the years. What is Rolls-Royce as we know it today?
Well, let's backtrack just a touch if we can, because India has always been a spectacular and wonderful market for Rolls-Royce Motor Cars. This is a brand which is now 112 years old. I think you would probably agree with me, it's one of the grandest and most well-known brands in the world. And it certainly is the pinnacle of super luxury motoring. It's the best that humans can do at this time in our history. Today, of course, the brand has metamorphosed and it's become a lot more modern, a lot more contemporary. I mean, I think people are quite surprised when they come here to the home of Rolls-Royce at Goodwood to discover this very contemporary, very modern manufacturing facility that we have here. And of course, that flows right through into the cars that we're marketing these days. The fantastic Phantom, the Phantom family really, the extraordinary Ghost, which has done well for us, and then the very exciting Wraith, which is doing fantastically for us. These are cars which are much more modern, much more forward-facing. Dare I say, they're cool, they're very luxurious, they're contemporary, and they've attracted a much younger client base to Rolls-Royce. So our clients who maybe 10 or 15 years ago were in the upper 50s are now in the mid-40s. And I'm happy to say, in fact, that our youngest client in the world is in India. He's a 27-year-old young self-made entrepreneur in Bombay, and is a fantastic customer of ours.
Well, so that's the past and the present of the brand, but let's talk a little bit about the future as well. Now, you already showcased, previewed the new Dawn that's going to be based on this Silver Dawn that you already have out there in the display. And of course, then there's the Project Cullinan, which is the Rolls-Royce SUV.
Yes.
Dare I say that?
No, yeah, you can say it, I won't. We try here at Rolls-Royce not to talk about an SUV. Let's start with Project Cullinan. Project Cullinan is the Rolls-Royce 4x4 all-terrain vehicle that we announced earlier this year and which will come to market in a few years' time. It will be a spectacular Rolls-Royce. It will be the ultimate, pinnacle, luxurious 4x4 car. It will not be an SUV. We're not trying to build an SUV. We're trying to create a car which our customers are asking us to create, and that is a truly luxurious, high-bodied 4x4 car with good off-terrain, good off-road, all-terrain capabilities. Now, the Rolls-Royce Dawn it's a new Dawn for Rolls-Royce. It's a fantastic drop-head coupe, loosely based on Wraith or Ghost, but quite different to both those cars. All the body panels on that car are absolutely new, and there's a lot of technology and interior work that's gone into this car, which is completely new as well. We will be showing that car a little bit later this year, and it will be launched into the market during the first quarter of next year. It is the ultimate sexiness in Rolls-Royce motoring, if I can put it that way. Dolce Vita on wheels.
Richard, let's talk a little bit more about Project Cullinan now. This is also significant for Rolls-Royce because it is, I presume, going to be a basis for all future Rolls-Royce products, the platform. Is it also a step for you to basically move away from the mother brand BMW in terms of your reliance on them?
No, I don't think we want to move away from BMW. We are owned by the BMW Group, and that is a very good thing for Rolls-Royce from a technology, research and development point of view. But it is important that we have our own calling card in a sense, and the calling card of Rolls-Royce, apart from luxury and silence and all those other wonderful things, is space frame aluminium technology. We will be going to an all aluminium space frame technology for all our cars. Including Ghost successors and Wraith successors, and of course Project Cullinan. This gives us a fantastic flexibility in terms of size of cars. It gives us a great flexibility in terms of body panels, upgrading cars, and it gives us a wonderful sense of being able to almost coach build again in the way that Rolls-Royces were made many, many years ago. It's right for us. It's light, it's rigid, but it's highly flexible. And being a very small volume manufacturer, this is exactly the way that we want to go.
You've already made an electric Rolls-Royce. For the future, different powertrain options, do you see, I mean, I know that is the way forward, probably hybrid, probably plug-in hybrids, but can you give us a sense of a timeline when Rolls-Royce would be delving into these venues?
Of course, Jamshed, that's a very important question for us. We make big motor cars and they have big engines. We are the most fuel efficient and the most emissions efficient brand in this sector, but that doesn't mean we can rest on our laurels. We are, of course, extremely customer driven, and our customers love the purity and the sophistication of our current 12-cylinder engines. It's what they expect under the hood of a Rolls-Royce motor car, and it's what we give them. But we have to be prepared for legislation that may come around the world regarding cars of a certain capacity or emissions entering the centres of cities, and we will be prepared for it. And this goes back to your question earlier about our association with the BMW Group, because technology in the BMW Group relating to hybrids, electric, plug-in hybrids, alternative fuels like hydrogen and so on and so forth are well developed. And it might well be that we would in the future look to our mother company for technology that we could instill into a Rolls-Royce to satisfy those sorts of legislative requirements when they inevitably come.
When BMW bought Rolls-Royce, it required a new assembly plant, and the German-British alliance couldn't have asked for a better location than the environs of Goodwood. A quaint town nestled in the Southdown Hills near the southern coast of England. A place rich with motorsport pedigree and beautiful horse racing courses. Rolls-Royce's new plant was built on the greenfield site of the Goodwood estate that belonged to the Earl of March. Once the facility was set up, finding skill wasn't really a difficult task, as Goodwood was also home to some of the most brilliant engineers from the racing circuit and excellent leather and wood craftsmen from the thriving nautical industry. Architect Nicholas Grimshaw designed the facility to accommodate the concerns of the locals, so no visible concrete monstrosities and green as a forest. On 17 March 2003, the plant was finally inaugurated and the first Phantom rolled out at midnight on New Year's Day 2004. Since then, every Phantom, Ghost and Wraith is rolled out from the two assembly lines at the Goodwood plant.
This is one of the most fascinating plants that I've been to. This is definitely one of the most quietest assembly lines that I've ever been to, and that's principally because all the machining happens in Germany. You have the entire space frame and the engine coming from Germany, and it's predominantly just assembled at this plant. Now, the only robotics in this plant are in the paint shop, and well, there is one crane out here as well on the assembly line. Interestingly, that was Sir Henry Royce's business before he started building cars. So everything in this plant, almost everything, is completely hand-built.
After 7 days, 5 coats of paint, high-gloss lacquer and 5 hours of polishing, the body shell, the panels and the doors are allowed to join the assembly, where they meet with their mechanical counterparts.
This is one of the most important and emotional ceremonies in the assembly process of a Rolls-Royce car. Now, the engine, the drivetrain, the drive shaft and the axles are all assembled back on the bench, which are then brought to this point where they're raised up and then fixed onto the body with the help of just 16 bolts. 16 bolts join them together for the rest of the life of the car, and well, that is why it's called marriage. After the assembly process, the cars are brought to the testing area where they're tested for any sort of faults, if any. And they start off with the acoustic test where they test the car for any sort of rattles and creaks, any other sound. They simulate different kinds of road conditions. Then they move on to the rolling road, and then finally it goes to the water testing area where they check for any sort of leaks. The car is then finally ready for the finishing processes. So we are at the assembly line of the Phantom, and I have with me one man who can stand up and say that he is responsible for the assembly of one of the best cars in the world. Simon, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So tell me, this Goodwood plant, what makes this plant so special? What makes it different from any other plant in the world?
I think one of the unique characteristics of the plant is its scale. It's a very small production plant. I'll say one end to another, it's easily visible what's going on. Actually, but also the location. Having a production plant in an area of outstanding natural beauty on the South Downs National Park, it's a very unusual location to have a plant, and we blend in very nicely with the scenery around us.
In terms of handcrafting, what are the challenges that you face as opposed to a normal manufacturing facility in terms of your manpower, in terms of the skill involved?
I think one of the biggest challenges we'll find is that each individual associate, the amount of work they have to remember. On high volume manufacturing, you're talking about 60 seconds, 90 seconds worth of work time and again. Putting together a Rolls-Royce, as you say, it's craftsmanship. So you're talking, it's an hours, 2 hours worth of manufacturing process. They have to remember, they have to try and remember how to get every detail right, how to get all of the gaps, the profiles, to really make the car outstanding the way the customer expects to have it. But it's remembering such a large amount of work to not make the single mistake that can make a customer dissatisfied, and that's what we pride ourselves in achieving.
And you're also looking at two new products very soon. You have the Dawn, and then of course you have the Project Cullinan.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, how are you managing the space? How are you managing the different assembly lines? Are you going to add more assembly lines?
I think as an overall concept, we know we need more space. We've already discussed with our sort of the local partners the fact we have a new technology and logistics centre. So we're going to create space here in the plant by looking at our logistics and removing our logistics from the site. That then gives us the space, as you say, to work with the new models coming in and the new offerings that then we have for our customers. So by being creative in this way and using other space locally, but really keeping all of our production facilities here on site, every car built in Goodwood.
Okay. Now we've seen all the different testing processes that you have after the car has been assembled, but how do you ensure the kind of quality that is demanded of a Rolls-Royce? And it's not the same as any other car, is it? I mean, you have some unbelievable expectations.
Yeah, I mean, I think every customer has the expectation that they have Rolls-Royce quality, and that really does stand for exceptional quality of product. All of our testing processes, the fact that we 100% validate the cars through a number of test facilities, is all driven by us to say that's how we guarantee that we give the customer what they expect. We can't inspect in quality, so it can't all be done that way. We actually have to build the car in a quality process from start to finish. So again, every single one of our associates, every one of the operators in the production areas is critical that they also are taking personal responsibility for their components. They're making sure that the part they build, the part they fit, whether it's in the leather shop or the wood shop or here in assembly, they're making sure that part is to the quality the customer expects. They don't pass on a known defect, they don't pass on a problem. They really make sure there and then they fix it, they get it right, and we build the car right through the whole process, because no one in this world can inspect in the quality that our customers expect. You have to produce it.
Rolls-Royce doesn't simply manufacture cars, they craft them. And there's one special department that ensures that the Rolls-Royce remains a benchmark in luxury motoring.
So this is the bespoke design room. This is where a Rolls-Royce is made as exclusive as it can get. And I have with me Gavin, who's the head of bespoke design. Hi, Gavin. Welcome to the show. So would you want to tell us how important bespoke is for Rolls-Royce at the moment?
Well, I guess bespoke has always been important to Rolls-Royce, I guess is the first thing. And from our point of view, the demand from our clients has been increasing over the last 10 years, the 10 years that I've been here. And from the way that Rolls-Royce has set itself up, bespoke is an inherent part of what we do.
Okay, a lot of car makers are doing bespoke today, but what sets Rolls-Royce bespoke apart? What does Rolls-Royce do differently?
Yeah, bespoke is increasing all across the board, whether it's in the car industry or in other areas. And I think that's a constant challenge that we have at Rolls-Royce, in that we've set ourselves up to be able to fulfil expectations, to exceed them, but obviously those expectations are getting raised as well. So from our point of view, it keeps us on our toes. We've got to try and think of what the next thing is, try and imagine where we can take opportunities from a customer's point of view, but always with the customers at the sort of forefront of our minds. But it's a constant challenge.
Speaking of challenges, what are the challenges for bespoke, and where do you draw the line, say, for a customer's demand?
Drawing the line is a very good question. The challenges are, I guess sometimes it's trying to find out exactly what a customer's perfect Rolls Royce is, because at the end of the day that's what we're trying to do, is to create an individual's perfect car. From that point of view, so sometimes it's trying to sort of tease out of a client what they have in mind or what we could do to make it perfect for them. In terms of, do we ever say no? Then we try not to. Our aim is to fulfil the wishes of the customer. Obviously there's certain things we have to bear in mind. We have to keep the car safe, and of course we've got a brand that's in excess of 100 years old. We want to keep that intact as well. So there's certain things that we do to protect the brand. We don't put badges on the outside of the car, and we wouldn't mess with the grille, things like that are iconic Rolls-Royce features. Colour is really important to all of our customers. It's obviously the first thing you see when you see a car for the first time. And what we found is that close isn't close enough when it comes to paint. So even though we have a large number of paints at our disposal, we've got different types of paints, often we're still finding customers want to come to us and have something slightly different. Maybe it's the fact that they know it's different and that they can have an individual paint that's exclusive to them. Maybe it's named after them. But often there's symbolism in the paint. There's perhaps something that they've seen that they can understand and think, well, actually my car would look fabulous in that colour. But we know that our clients are extremely precise and selective. So however many colours we have, we keep doing more because our customers keep asking for more. And colour is one thing, but also detailing is another. We've got a couple of examples up on the wall there that show some of the more extreme types of embroidery that we might do. But even something as simple as some embroidery of initials on the headrest is enough to make the car personal to someone. You've got paint, you've got leather, and then you've got wood, and anyone that comes to Goodwood invariably spends far too long looking around the wood shop because it's such a fascinating experience, not just to see how things are made, but just experiencing the level of intense hand finishing that goes into every car. So from a customer's point of view, their car is the most important car, and they can see, if they come here, exactly how much effort goes into finishing their particular motor car. So there's a huge array of different types of wood, and there's a lot of work that goes into developing the finish. So famously, we would have a very high gloss lacquered finish. We would maybe add detailing in terms of cross-banding and maybe inlays and pinstripes. But also we've got, I guess, more furniture type finishes, particularly on the wraith, on the Canadell panelling on the doors. So this is something that's also very much appreciated because you can actually literally feel the grain.
So this is exactly where you move away from car manufacturing, and this is more craftsmanship.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's embedded in itself, really. I mean, craftsmanship and car manufacture, that is what Rolls-Royce is all about, really, because the final product is great, but to properly experience what you're travelling in, what you're getting, is to see how the car's built. And I think that's what really makes people Rolls-Royce enthusiasts and not just Rolls-Royce customers, is when they come to Goodwood, when they see how much effort goes into making their car, that they suddenly transform themselves to someone who is a real enthusiast beyond just a passenger.
The finest veneers, hide, and wood are chosen from across the world and are shipped to Goodwood. The wood craftspeople spend nearly a month shaping, sanding, lacquering and hand polishing up to 25 wood parts for the interiors. Meanwhile, the leather workers cut and fit about 250 individual pieces of leather, each part hand-stitched.
And one of the most interesting bespoke options is, of course, the Starlight roof, which is offered in cars like the Phantom and the Wraith. Now, it's basically a lit-up roof which kind of looks like the night sky with the stars, and you can see how painstakingly each and every fiber optic is inserted into the randomly cut pattern. But the interesting part is, of course, you can also opt for specific patterns like one particular customer did when he asked for the night sky over Goodwood on the 1st of January 2003 when the first car was rolled out of the Goodwood plant. I'll talk about bespoke. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Brian State. He's the leather guru, the head of the leather shop. And Brian's going to tell us how important leather is for making Rolls-Royce.
Great. Morning and welcome to the leather shop. So the leather shop here, where we're standing, we've got the incoming area with our hides and our cutting process. And behind us here is where our experts put it all together and make our covers and seat covers. So we have a multitude of hides coming into the shop from our off-site warehouse, and we go through a first stage of inspection where we stretch the leather and we're looking for natural marks, we're looking for insect bites and all the little surface imperfections which from our perspective mean we don't want that in our car. We really do expect the best and I train our operators to deliver that. From the inspection process we then come across onto our cutting tables and we begin to lay the hides out and bring in each of the panel shapes onto the hide, selecting the appropriate area of the hide to use. So where we've marked up the imperfection, we have to avoid that area, and also for certain panels, we also have to select particular areas of the hide where it's the best quality hide to really ensure that the customer's getting that absolute perfection. And that for us again is really important, that we rely on the best camera in the world, that's your eye. You know, there's nothing better resolution-wise than your eye, and that's what we use. So we're very much reliant on the operator to do our start point. Don't build a house on quicksand, it'll fall over. Get the leather right, and the rest of the processes have a good chance to succeed. And that's really important.
Speaking of which, how do you source your leather? I understand it's important for you to get the best quality right from the start.
Absolutely. So what's really important to us is that the animal itself has good welfare. Why is that important? Well, like you or I, if we eat good food and we drink healthily and we live healthily, then our skin is healthy. And the leather is a natural product. I still regard it, even going into the car, as a living product. If you're in hot, dry weather, it will lose some moisture and it will tighten up a little bit. If you're in cold, damp weather, it'll absorb a little bit of moisture, it'll go a little bit looser, just as you or I do. And so our leather comes from well-maintained sources. It is a byproduct of the food industry, which is a fabulous opportunity because animal welfare for the food industry is very, very high, very prominent, very much in focus of everybody's minds, and that gives us a great product to work with from the beginning.
After a final 4-hour round of inspection, the finishing touches are added. Each Rolls-Royce passes through 60 pairs of hands belonging to skilled craftspeople and technicians before it is handed over to their buyers. Well, calling them buyers wouldn't be right. After all, a Rolls-Royce isn't bought, it is commissioned. An aristocratic lady once asked Sir Henry, what if the factory produced a bad car? He answered, "Madam, the man at the gate would not let it out of the works."